All right, we've got another call coming in. Go ahead. You're on Sports Sound Off.
Yeah, I have a question for Jason. This is your brother-in-law, Matt. And I want
Nothing
to know
like
why
family
you raise
questions.
your sons as USF Bull fans and not Gators.
I didn't hear that question.
What was that again?
There's so much rumbling on that phone. What you got going on in the
I'm
house?
wondering why you raise your sons as USF Bull fans and not Florida Gators.
Wow.
Well, that's easy. Blood runs thicker than water. both his parents are USF alumni, as is his mother-in-law, who just happened to lose her own colors. But yeah, blood runs thicker than water. Definitely Bulls.
All right. Well, you know, it's tough when family calls to harass you. You know, during stuff. Tell you what, we've been talking about college sports. Let's keep on talking about college football a little bit. With regard to the college schedule coming up this weekend, USF has Louisville.
Yeah.
In Louisville. The Gators are playing Vandy, I believe.
South Carolina.
No, South Carolina. I'm sorry.
In Gainesville.
We kicked Vandy's tails this weekend. I'm sorry. My brain's...
Gator fans are flipping out in country.
I'm sorry. And then we've got FSU with Clemson and Miami with Georgia Tech. And, of course, you know, as we've talked about previously, USF is really, you know, celebrating that 100th victory is a big deal. As we take a look at, we were talking about the Gator game, and as was pointed out, you know, orange and blue was really hot this weekend. I mean, the guys look good. We got a shot here of Randy blocking a punt.
Yeah.
It was, you know, we've got some new talent that's come up. This tight end slash quarterback that's come in, and we got Burton coming out. The defense scored touchdowns. I mean, it was an overall victory. For me, it's one of those things where you say, have the Gators kind of step back up again?
Well, the thing that's interesting is Vandy always plays Florida tough. So for them to go in Vanderbilt, which is, you know, you got to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready for the game, is something they're not typically used to being a college student athlete. So I think that was a big adjustment, and the fact they just took it to them. And Vandy always plays Florida in like a 17-21 type game.
Right.
So I think that bodes well. I think they get them. I think they get South Carolina pretty good down in the swamp. I like to see Steven Garcia do well, being a Tampa product.
Well, and the big thing for me there is you've got what's become a great rivalry now that Spurrier's there, and you know, South Carolina was playing really well earlier in the year. I think it'll be a good football game, but I think the Gators will win. The toughest thing for me watching this, you look at the SEC, I don't see enough guys hitting guys in the face with Florida anyway, so we'll have to see what happens. I've got an email question. Let's deal with this here. Brett asked, what do you think of Joe Paterno winning his 400th game? Well, what can you say about Paterno? I mean, you know, he's a legend. There's not going to be any more like him. You know, guys aren't staying in institutions for 40 years anymore. You know, with Bobby Bowden leaving the coaching scene, there's only one guy left who's even you know, that you think of in the same sentence, and that's him. And it's just amazing to watch that, you know. In terms of other stuff going on in terms of college right now, the team that I'm really amazed with this year is Oregon. The Ducks look hot.
Yeah, they look real good. I think they got it going on both sides of the ball, their offense. Again, I mean, you're playing Pac-10 ball, and you just don't know what to make of their defense, because have they seen a great offense out there? I don't know. Have they seen a great defense? I don't know. I mean, so yeah, are they beating everybody they play? Yeah, but are they playing an SEC schedule? No.
Right.
So
and that's the tough thing.
It's like Boise State. I mean, how good are they? I don't know. Go play Auburn. Go play Alabama. Go play Florida. Schedule somebody else that's not in the Cupcake League, and then, you know, it makes a legitimate argument.
Exactly. Well, let's see. We had an email question. Let's take a look at that email question here. Wade asked, will Auburn beat Alabama? We got all this thing going on with Cam Newton. You've been following this a little bit?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, I'm from Mississippi, so when I grew up, John Bond was, he was a big-time quarterback at Mississippi State. So when it's interesting, I saw his name flash across Sports Center saying he leaked it, or he brought it out.
He was the one,
I'll tell you that in Mississippi State, I got a lot of friends and family that are big Mississippi State alumni and supporters back home. And they say it's absolutely legit that they made this request, that he wanted money.
That Cam Newton actually asked?
Absolutely. I know people that are very close to the ADs there, and this absolutely did happen. They're saying it's a fact.
Wow.
And that Auburn did pay him. And the thing that was interesting for me was 2 weeks before, there was such a great article that came out about him in Sports Illustrated about him and his dad. Just sound like great family, and so this is just a complete 180 for me. I never saw this coming.
No, well,
I didn't see it coming.
I tell you, my first take on this was, okay, the Alabama boosters and alumni are putting a little heat to him before the game, but where there's smoke, there's fire, it appears. So it's going to be tough. Now, you were talking about Boise State. You know, I think they're going to be the odd team out.
Yeah.
Auburn, I think, does beat Alabama, to answer the question.
Yeah.
And I think that Boise State's the odd team out. TCU made a statement and just beat the dog crap out of Utah.
But again, you don't know how good Utah.
You don't know how good they are.
Utah played.
I know who they played, but what do you do? I mean, they went out there and they beat these guys up. Wait a minute, I got a call coming in. Let's see here. Caller, go ahead. You're on Sports Sound Off.
Hey, Randy, this is Charlie Malouf calling you from Charlotte, North Carolina. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine, Charlie. How are you?
Great. I'm Jason's older brother. I actually talked about some college football with you. Two things I'd like to discuss. Cam Newton and the BCS. Is Cam Newton guilty? Is he going to win the Heisman? Is this going to change college football? Because I've heard rumors that there's a lot more coming out behind this story. That's number one. Number two, is college football ever going to have a playoff? Are they ever going to do away with corrupt BCS? And have you heard of or read Dan Wetzel's new book called Death to the BCS? I highly recommend it.
Well, I can give you my take. First of all, I think that we need to have a +1 system. Play all the bowls, seed the guys up, do whatever, and then have one more game, okay, to decide a national championship. And I think that can happen if the money's right. It's always about the money. We all know that, okay?
Sure.
Secondly, with regard to Cam Newton, yeah, I think he did it. You know, he basically, in the last press conference I saw, said, you know, bygones, yeah, I did the whole cheating thing when I was at Florida. Let's talk about something else. It's tough to hear, but I think he did it.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, the guy's the greatest college football player playing this year.
Yep.
You know, whether he wins a Heisman or not, you know, I just want to see what he does on Sundays. I mean, the guy's obviously is talented, more talented than a Vince Young. I think, you know, to be as big and strong and fast as he is, I mean, at this point, it's just going to taint, forget the Heisman, but is Auburn going to be allowed to play with who could be potentially be an ineligible player? Then what does that do to the national championship if they go on and run the table?
Well, and if he wins the Heisman, do they end up taking it from an a la Reggie Bush? I mean, it's just it's a mess because they have that whole ethics clause in there and everything.
But Bush would say, "I got my Super Bowl ring. You can take your Heisman."
You can take the Heisman now, but still, I mean, it's the prestige of being a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah,
it's a big
well, I appreciate your comment. I think that this loses the Heisman for Cam. My take is Cam Newton plays through the SEC championship game, and he is ineligible for the national title. Oregon wins the national title over a Cam Newton less Auburn, and TCU argues about why they're not number one or don't get a chance to play Oregon for the title.
Could happen. I'll give you that one. Could happen.
I was very impressed with TCU's victory over Utah, the way they just dismantled and dislodged and exposed Utah, and they would completely destroy Boise State. I think the three best teams are TCU, Auburn, with a Cam Newton, but whether or not he's eligible is to be debated, and Oregon.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. Thanks for the call, bud. You know it runs in the family, right? You guys all know what you're talking about. That's good. I happen to agree with him. It could very much happen. Let's go back to some of the things that have happened in the last few days, especially Tampa Bay sports. I want to first of all give congratulations to Evan Longoria and Carl Crawford, Gold Glove winners.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Unfortunately, and maybe the last thing we hear about Carl Crawford, because he's probably going to be wearing some other color jersey, maybe a pinstripe of some sort. And speaking of the pinstripes, there was news today that the Yankees and Brian Cashman were talking to Cliff Lee in Arkansas. Talk about a guy with a great arm, and he was deadly this year. I mean, it was not so great in the Super Bowl, but I mean in the World Series. But you know, he was tremendous all year long. Jerry, as we talked about earlier, Jerry Jones came out early in the week and said, "I've got a lot of thinking to do. I've got some decisions to make," and he fired the cannon.
Yeah.
And you know, Wade is gone, and Jason Garrett's there. I hope that this rights the ship for Dallas, because these guys have not looked very good. I mean, they look like they need to change league.